I first met Max in four years ago, nearly 4 years ago now, in 2011. It was actually my first speaking tour of Australia, which I remember very well because the first ever event I did in Australia was in Western Australia, about 3 hours south of Perth, and the venue was called the Loose Goose Shed. And everything you've just imagined was pretty much what it was. It was in the middle of nowhere, south of just really a small community. And I said to the guy that was organizing it, I said, you sure anyone's actually going to turn up? And he said, yeah, don't worry about it. He said, it's a small community. He said, not much goes on here. So he said, there's a lot of people that bought tickets. He said, they haven't got any idea what they bought tickets for, but they bought tickets. But then I went over to the East Coast, and I did a presentation on the Gold Coast. And there was this guy sitting at the back there, and at the lunch break came and introduced himself, and it was Max Igan. And at the time, Max had this radio show, the Crow House. And Max was the voice. Max was renowned for his voice, and he does have the perfect voice for radio. And so he was very reluctant to be photographed because he wanted to be known as the voice. And I think that you understand why that is. He does have a great voice. But fortunately, shortly after that, Max ventured from behind the microphone in his radio station onto the stage, and now has become a much sought-after speaker right around the planet, not ever neglecting his radio shows. He's also made 2 full-length documentaries. If you haven't seen them, I'd encourage you to watch them. And then when I went back out to Australia last year in November, Max said, you got a couple of days, you're up in the Gold Coast, come stay with me. And he has this beautiful place. He shares his living room with a 1955 VW camper, which doubles as the guest room, isn't that right? Yeah. I have no idea where it is because he wants to stay, away from the glare of publicity. So he said, I'll come pick you up. And he said, but I'm going to have to blindfold you. But anyway, had a wonderful couple of days with Max. And he's a man, indeed, of many talents.
Oh, no.
And, when I was visiting his bijou residence, he has a lot of... Hopefully that's a lot of sand around, yeah. Not sure. Let's try this again, technology. See what happens here. I think we're going to, there we go. And, he has guitars, and I said, so you're a musician. And getting information out of Max, it is not that easy, and he doesn't give it up. He'd be an interrogator's nightmare. But he is a very, very accomplished musician. And I still don't know very much about what he did, because it's tough to get the information there. But he, in an earlier life, he was on the road as a musician. And he gave me a little taste of it, which I played out on this episode of Humanity vs. Insanity. So just take a listen to this. Get a taste of the other Max Igan. is, ladies and gentlemen, a man of great talent and of even greater insight. So please welcome Max Igan.
Oh, dear. Oh, I didn't know you were going to do that.
I know you didn't.
I didn't
if I'd have told you, you'd never let me do it.
I didn't actually blindfold him, folks. He's making that bit up. But yeah, I'm Max Igan. My website is The Crow House, which you may see up there soon. But what a weekend, hey? What a weekend. Like, what a range of speakers. What a hard bunch of acts to follow, really. I've heard some of the most important information here today, really. I mean, and credit to Ian Crane for putting this gig on, because honestly, I've spoken at a lot of gigs, and I'd say this is the best gig that I've spoken at, just because of the lineup of speakers. I can see it here. I don't know what's going on, but it's up there. So, yeah, incredible, incredible. Like, every speaker here has brought information that is so important to everybody, you know, and this should be a really motivational weekend. So, the name of this talk is Conspiracy Misdirection, Replacing the Meme with Reality. And, like, I had something vaguely planned, but after all the speakers, I mean, this could go anywhere, so we'll just see what happens. Okay, so I want to make this clear. Okay, we get this just instilled into our minds. I like to start off with that clip just to make sure everyone knows that it's a reality check. So let's look at our society. This is our society, folks. That pretty well sums it up, don't you think? It's people farming. That's what it is. Everything that we've seen here today, everything we've heard about, all of the depopulation agenda, the chemtrails, everything, it's people farming. That's what it's all about. These people don't care about us. They're psychopaths. Let's call it for what it is. And as Thomas said, the time for talk is over. That's why I've even been thinking that I don't even know whether I should keep doing the radio shows, because if you listen to my radio shows, it's kind of been the same show for the last 8 years. I've said the same thing in as many hundreds of different ways as I could in the hope of waking up one more person. You know, to the fact that the answers lie with us. It's all to do with us. Every problem that we face is to do with us, and we can solve the whole lot. So this is our life, this is our society, this is what we go through. We just have this society that does this to us. And of course our leaders they're all there to help us. It looks that way. And look what they do to us. This is what they do to us if we get stressed out. They feed us genetically modified food. They're doing all sorts of things to us, folks, and this financial system is just eating up the planet. See, that's the thing, the financial system is the head of the snake. The economy is what it's all about. We're taught that the economy is all important. That's what all of our societies are based on. Politicians get praised for supporting the economy, for improving the economy. It's all about the economic model. And this is how we've built our prison, because we are the ones who have built our own prison. We can blame the system all we want, and sure, the system is a lot to blame, but it's our participation in the system. What we've done through the education system, we've been trained to believe that we've been given a misguided perspective of success, basically, is what we've been trained into. We go into these businesses and we work to make the business more efficient, because by making the business more efficient, we can get more dollars in the bank, and then the world becomes our oyster. We can be successful, then we can go and enjoy the world. We get to these positions and we go to try and enjoy the world. We find that it's all been homogenized for us anyway, and that there's nothing really there. But by getting into a business and working to make the business more efficient and basing it all on the economy, what you do is you minimize work costs and you maximize profits. So you're discarding humanity and you're making the system more efficient. And in this way, we've built our own prison. And now we've got this meme which basically enslaves us, but it's just an idea. The whole system is just an idea. Government is just an idea. Government isn't real. It's an idea that people write in books. And men with expensive suits go to these buildings and they do what it says in the book. And if they haven't got a way of extracting more wealth from you, they just write it in the book. And they put a rubber stamp on it and they call it law, and we all go along with it. But it's just an idea. It's just an idea. It's not real. You know, but we currently discard humanity in order to support this economic model. And that's what it's all about. The economic model, based on permanent growth, is designed to render the planet uninhabitable. That's its only purpose. That can be the only result of continuing to support this economic model. You think about it. It's always about permanent growth. So therefore, you've got to constantly discard humanity and make the system more efficient. All the resources you remove from the planet, you've got to make them into objects that will break so you can replace them, so you can continue with the permanent growth cycle. And that's the situation that we're in, and that's what we get because of it. And that's where we end up. That's basically where we end up. And the people just go along with it. Why do they go along with it? Well, we've seen why they go along with it in these talks today. Fluoride, television, what people are trained to believe by the media. The media is a huge part of this. The media, I believe, like the criminals, the politicians are criminals, let's face it, they're all criminals. They're doing terrible things to the planet. But the media, as far as I'm concerned, are even more criminals. Because the politicians, we know they're criminals. They're bought and paid for to begin with. But the media, we employ these people. These people are a government watchdog. If you look at the American Constitution, for example, the media is the only non-government organisation that's mentioned in the Constitution because it is so necessary to have a strong independent media and a powerful and an honest and unbiased media in order to have a responsible government. If you don't have that, you don't have any accountability for your government. So that's what we need this. We need this. And the media is grossly irresponsible in all that they've done. And as far as I'm concerned, they're guilty of as many, if not more, crimes than the government, just because they have a choice in the matter. I don't know how anyone could get up on TV and just tell barefaced lies the way they do, no matter how much they're paid. I mean, you know, they get them in there, they get used to these lifestyles, they don't want to lose their money, they want to keep living this way. But still, I don't know how they could do it. I mean, I've met people who've been, had millions of dollars, and they've given it all away and gone around the world with a backpack and been the happiest that they've been in their lives. So there's no reason for these people to get up and lie, yet they do, you know. And we go through it all, folks, because we're taught that there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. If we work hard, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's all going to work out, but really, that's what we get. You know, it doesn't matter how hard you work, doesn't matter how much you've got. Eventually, it just gets taken from you because they can just switch the power of money on and off, switch the value of money on and off. You know, economic crashes, you know. It's interesting, isn't it? In an economic crash, suddenly everyone looks at this worthless paper in their wallet and they think, wow, it's all worthless now, it's just paper. But it was before. It was just paper. It didn't have any real value, but they switched the value on and off. This is mind control of the most incredible kind. How people can open their wallet. The whole system's still here. It's all functioning. All the trucks are still there. Everything's still there. The infrastructure still works. But oh no, I can't use it because they've switched the value of my paper off. How did it have value to begin with? It's mind control. That's what money's for. And this is what they're doing to the world, folks. This is what they have planned for us. And there's, you know, we can petition these people. We can protest the mines. We can protest coal seam gas. We can protest all this stuff as individual things. It doesn't really get us anywhere. Petitioning governments, I mean, it's a good thing to do to show that we know, and it's a good thing to show solidarity, but it doesn't really get anywhere. And when you petition a government, you're pleading with them. Please do the right thing, my elected politician, my ruler. These people are our servants, folks. We don't have to ask them to do things for us. We have to tell them what we want them to do. We don't do that because we live in disunited communities. That's the problem. So we get this. This is our jobs, folks. This is what we go out and do for a living. We create all of this ourselves because we crave paper, because we have to, because we've got to pay to be alive. Not many people ask themselves the question, why do I have to pay to live on the planet that I was born on? It's a really interesting thing, but we do. We have to pay to be alive. And this is what we get. This is the gas fields of Queensland that Ian's been telling you about. And this is insidious, folks. Coal seam gas mining, what they're doing here. You remember back in the 1970s, I think it might have been 1974, there was a paper, the National Security Memorandum, in which Henry Kissinger said we will use food as a weapon. What do you think he meant by that? You know, they're just not just marginalising certain countries by cutting off the flow of food to them. They're removing Western countries of their ability to produce food. What they're doing in Australia, where they're doing all of this around the southern Queensland area, this is bordering on an area called the Darling Downs. This is some of the most fertile farming land in the world, and it's Australia's food bowl. That's where all of our food virtually is grown, in the Darling Downs. If the Darling Downs goes, then Australia has to import all of its food. And this is what they're doing. They'll do this in England. They'll do this everywhere because even if you want to go and create your alternate community, I'm going to step out of this society, I'm going to go and create an alternate community, you're not going to be able to have water, you're not going to be able to grow food if you don't address this problem. This is where we fall down with a lot of this stuff. We want to step out of the system, but we don't want to continue dealing with it at all. You can't step out of it and turn away from it. You've got to deal with it. This is where the free man movement falls down. All of these sorts of things, lose the name. Who's heard of that? Lose the name, win the game. Anyone heard of that? If you don't claim your name, they can't do all this stuff. That's very fine. But these people are saying, I've lost the name, I'm turning away from the system, it doesn't affect me now. Well, it does, because you're still living on this planet. There's nowhere you can go to get away from this system. You've got to use the knowledge that you've got to confront the system. You've got to face it. Put down the fear and use your energy and face it. Oh, you get this. This is Dresden, actually. That was Winston Churchill paying a visit to the hundreds of thousands of refugees in Dresden after World War II. So we face all these problems, folks. We've got all these wars in the Middle East because of these terrorists, because of the terrorists hate us because we're free. Really? Is that it? Here's a new study. What do you reckon about that one? Immediately it's cracked. It's cracked magazine. New poll reveals it's because we're bombing them. Funny that. We had no idea, Pentagon spokesman. Opinion poll, 100% don't like being bombed. Funny that. Or we can go to the church, we can look for solutions, we can go to religion. I don't think it's going to help very much. Or we can ask our government for help. The government may give you some help, but it's not always the help that you want. That's the problem with government. They will come and save you, though. The police are there to protect you, folks. Not a worry. And so people look for why the world is the way it is. You know, people go through this wake-up process, this gradual wake-up process. They go through all these things, and they try to figure out what to do. They mount petitions, they mount movements, they do all sorts of things, and nothing works, and so they go down the rabbit hole. Okay, there's a terrible hand at the top that's controlling things. How do we fix it? They go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, and it takes them to endless places. They start to connect the dots, which can be difficult, and they end up somewhere like this, which is just, you know, out of control. Folks, the whole conspiracy movement, sure, there's a conspiracy. There's a really big conspiracy, but there's a conspiracy culture that's been superimposed over the actual conspiracy to get everybody running down rabbit holes. The Illuminati, oh, the terrible shadowy hand that we just can't possibly do anything about because it's just too damn big and powerful. Well, that's really empowering to know about that stuff, isn't it? You know, like, what we're dealing with here is something that's going on right around us right now, and we're going down all these rabbit holes looking for people to point the finger at. We're not looking at ourselves. We're not looking at what's happening around us. Every single problem that we face on this planet, whether it's pollution, whether it's homelessness, whether it's Fukushima that I showed you before, whether it's coal seam gas mining, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the corporate rape of the Amazon, doesn't matter what it is, all of it happens because of legislation that's put in place by governments. And the governments get away with doing this because we live in disunited, disempowered communities because we've been trained to be that way. You know, we're caught on this economic treadmill, running around judging ourselves by social and economic parameters, measuring each other by the size of our front doors and what type of car we drive, what we look like, what we dress like, what our rung on the social ladder is, and it's all fiction. It's all parameters that have been put in place by other people to keep us divided, keep us squabbling with each other. And as Ian said before, with the internet conspiracy culture as well, if you don't agree with every single point that someone makes, suddenly you're a shill. It's an attack. You're this, you're that, you're that. Let me show you how easy it is to make a conspiracy, folks. Have a look at this. And that's the thing too. We want to believe them all, don't we? We want to believe them all. This is a picture that was taken of me in Palestine. I have this terrible habit when I have a photo taken, I always tilt my head. It's just this thing, I look at the photos, you're tilting your head again, Max. You know? This is the way it is. Someone saw this photo and went, look, we've got him, busted, uncontrolled opposition. You can see, obviously, from the photo. This is how conspiracies work, folks. Look at this website, Hollywood Subliminals. There he is, Max Igan, game, set, and match, exposed. Why? Because I'm standing like that, see, because this is a pyramid. There's an eye of horror subliminal there. I'm holding up 2 fingers. There's 3 bands on each finger. This is a subliminal symbol that I'm a 33rd degree Mason. It says here, 33. See, look, obviously, he's a Mason. He's doing it, leaning the eye, so it's there. It's all planned. This is how easy it is to construct a conspiracy, folks. According to one website, I'm a country and western singer from America who goes to Australia to become a Green Party minister on the weekends and then dons a prosthetic face to speak on the radio and become Max Igan. I get around, folks. I get around. This is how easy it is to create these mazes for people, folks. And what it does is it makes people believe that there's this all-powerful hand that you can't do anything about that controls everything. All they've got to do is put a pyramid in a movie and, oh my God, the Illuminati controls everything. They just got to put these subliminals there. Sure, there are Hollywood subliminals. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and sure, there is a dark hand. But it's not as powerful as you think. It's created the concept to make you think that it's that powerful, to disempower you. You know, we've gone down all these rabbit holes, we looked at all this stuff, and the controlling hand is not really that strong, folks. It's actually very weak, and it's stumbling like hell at the moment. So we see all these things, and we don't talk about them, we don't know what to do about them, we're left in a state of complete disempowerment because of a lot of the conspiracy culture. It's a distraction. It's an absolute distraction from what's going on around us, and it's created this meme in people's minds where it's this all-powerful hand that we can't do anything about. And look, when you look at some of the information that we got on the weekend today, yeah, there's a lot of shit going on. It's a pretty powerful hand, and it's doing a lot of stuff which is very, very difficult to combat. But there are mechanisms in place that we can use. Now, I'm basically an anarchist, really, if you want to look at it. I mean, I believe in self-governance, but I think we've got a long way to go to get there. And people have to understand there's been a series of steps that have brought us to this point. And too much in this movement, this culture, this alternate media, the truth movement, whatever you want to call it. I think truth movement is the wrong word, but a lot of it isn't truthful. But in this culture, there's this all or nothing kind of mentality. You know, I'm an anarchist, therefore I want total anarchy. We've got to crash the system today and we can all be free. It won't work that way because a lot of people aren't ready for self-governance. You know, when I started this, and it's the same with the free man movement as well, I want to walk out of the system, I want it to all change today, I'm gone. You can't do that, you know. When I came into this, when I started doing what I do, it's because I love people. It's because I love life. I don't want to leave anybody behind. I don't want to free myself. I want to change the human condition, and that means freeing everybody. But they have to do it themselves. I can't free you. You can free you, but you have to make the choice to do it. You know, we have so many people that are awake now. We really do, and if we could get coordinated, we could make a difference. So we've got to stop judging each other. We really do, because there is a conspiracy. It's a really big one, as this man said. And if you really want to know what it is, it's a conspiracy to turn this thing into this. That's it, a prison that you cannot escape. That's why there's nowhere you can go. You can't build an alternate community and turn your back on this community. If you do that, you're forgetting what gave you the reason to build the alternate community. You wanted to get out of this society because this society is heading for the cliff and it's dragging the whole world with it. And that's the key. It's dragging the whole world with it, and you're still on the world, and there's nowhere on this planet you can escape from it if you choose to turn your back on it. But you've got all that information now. You can just turn and face it with the information that you've got and be brutally honest. Speak the truth. Don't be politically correct. Call things for what they are. You know, the time for talk is over, like Thomas said. We've got to put things into action now, folks. We've got to stand up and call a spade a spade. We really do. There's mechanisms in this system that we can use against itself. It's a double-edged sword. You know, I'm all for bringing the system down. I believe the whole legal system is crap. It's tripe. It's fiction. But still, there are elements in it we can use, simply because the people out there who are sleeping need to be spoken to in a language they understand. And these are the people we need to meet, we need to reach. It's all very well coming and speaking at venues like this, but you're preaching to the choir. And then you go and you try to wake up the neighbours and you're going, oh, Illuminati, chemtrails, all this stuff. And you're going, oh my God, I don't want to be like that. And they lock down and you can never get to them again. You've got to speak to these people in a language they can understand. This is why I've tried everything. I mean, I've tried addressing the tax system. I've tried anything I can do to get people's attention to the fact that the government doesn't have their best interests at heart, and then go with that. Because you've got to crack that shell. You've got to crack that shell. Now, everything that we're seeing on the planet today, everything these politicians are doing, if you really want to get down to it, it's abuse of office. A lot of it. There are no leaders on this planet. We've got to get this idea of authority out of our heads. What these politicians are doing is they're using the power that we give them by the office that they hold to create, or to abuse their power, to create powers that they don't have. This is all abuse of office. You know, the fact that you've got to put in all these freedom of information requests, the fact that there's fluoride in the water. Let's just call things for what they are. You know, there's so many things going on the planet that are abuse of office that give us the choice to use it and to deal with it and to use their laws against themselves. I mean, I don't agree with any of their laws. I think they're all fiction. But psychopaths like to hide. They like to hide there in the ranks. And a lot of the lower level politicians are not psychopaths. These are people that are trained to work in a system and make the system more efficient, you know? You can't just blanket statement the whole thing and hate everybody and say everybody in the corporate system is a psychopath, everybody in the political system is a psychopath. A lot of politicians become politicians because they want to make a difference. There's good people in there, but they go in there and they're forced to work within psychopathic parameters, and so they get corrupted by default because they're working in a corrupt system. They may not be corrupt, but the system itself is corrupt. And when I say corrupt, I'm not meaning it's evil, it's cruel, it plans bad things. It's corrupt, it's dysfunctional. You've got a corrupt file on your computer, it isn't evil, it's just dysfunctional. The system is dysfunctional. And so when people work within it, they work within these dysfunctional, corrupt parameters and they don't get anything done. But if we can speak in their language and speak in a language that the people on the average street can understand, then we can start cracking that little shell in people's minds. You know, I started talking about the tax system, I started talking about all sorts of things, but ultimately it's all abuse of office. The whole thing is abuse of office. And what you've got to do is find that thing in your community which concerns your community, and you've got to help them look at it from the correct perspective. Because whatever problem that they've got is a result of legislation and abuse of office, the whole lot. The only reason any person on this planet is in a state of hardship is because politicians are abusing their office. You know, and if we call it for that, we can get out of this because we can reach people. They think, yeah, abuse of office, that makes sense. In Australia recently in the 70s, that's recent for me, I'm old. In the 70s, there was a politician, Gough Whitlam, who got removed from his position of power because all the politicians in the country got together to express a loss of confidence in his government's ability to govern, and they had him dismissed. We can do that. We can express a loss of confidence in our government's ability to govern and have them dismissed by asking them to show cause why they should not be held in abuse of office. What for? Exhibit A, the Earth. Have a look at the place. Everything that's gone wrong on this planet is because of legislation you guys put in by, you know. We can do this, folks, but we've got to rally the people in the right way and speak in terms they can understand. You're going to find that every community you go to, it doesn't matter where it is, it might be some little suburb somewhere, there's something in that community that affects most of the people in that community that they're concerned about. It could be the rubbish being picked up, it could be the state of the beach, it could be the storm drains, it could be anything, but there's something that isn't being done that they want done. You've got to help them look at it in the correct perspective, and you've got to stop addressing symptoms. The fracking, you're not going to address the fracking by protesting at the frack wells. I mean, sure, you need to do that because you need to stop it, but what you've got to do is realise what it really is. Now, we had a gas well in Australia. There's only one well that I know of that's actually been stopped in Australia, and that's a well that I went and spoke at a place called Bentley. They're trying to get the well back in now. But it might be others, but that's the only one that I know of that's been stopped. And the way I did it, well, I didn't stop it, they did, but I went and spoke to these people and I said, look, you're looking at this from the wrong perspective. What you've got to do is realise that this is a threat to national security. You've got to change your perspective of what the nation is, and that's what the people in England have to do as well. You've got to change your perspective of what the nation is. And hey, I don't even believe in nations, but I've got to speak in a language these people understand. And these people, the sheeple, whatever you want to call them, the people that are just programmed into the society, they believe in the nation. They believe in England. They want all this national stuff, you know. They've got national pride. You know, I heard someone here in one of these talks saying how all the immigrants are coming in and you're losing your identity. And that's true as well. So you need to maintain that identity, but you've got to understand what the nation of England is. The nation of England is you guys. It's the people. You take all the people off the island, you put them out in the ocean, and what do you got in England? It's just a block of land. It's not England anymore. The English identity is the people of England. Therefore, you are the nation. Therefore, any threat to the security of the people is a threat to national security. Water is the stuff of life. Without water, you can have no life. Any threat to water in your country is a threat to national security. This is what I did in the well in Bentley in Queensland, or New South Wales actually, just over the border. I went down there and I said, look, Australia is a spring-fed nation. The life of this nation depends on groundwater, therefore water is essential. Groundwater is essential for the security of this nation. Therefore, any threat to groundwater must be seen as a threat to national security. So you need to write a letter to every politician in this state, every one of them, and say, we require you, we're not asking you, we require you as our public servants, our elected representatives, to provide us with the results of the studies that you have done, which show conclusively that this does not damage the water table. If you have not done those studies or you cannot produce that information for us, you need to show cause why you should not be held in abuse of office, and we should not rally the people of this state to express a loss of confidence in your government and take the necessary steps to have you dismissed. I put that up in the tent, and thousands of people went past and they copied that letter and they sent it. And within 1 week, they stopped that gas well. 1 week. They said it was for environmental reasons and impact studies and social concerns and all this bullshit that they came up with. I guarantee it's because they sent that letter. That's why they stopped it, because when you do stuff like that, you're speaking their language. You tell a politician to show cause why you should not be held in abuse of office. You're threatening him with the most serious charge you can bring against a politician. Abuse of office is the most serious charge you can bring against a politician. And when you ask them to show cause, you're putting the onus of proof on them. Look, I've already got the proof, Exhibit A, the earth. Have a look at the place. Show cause why you and the legislation you've enacted, which has allowed this to happen, shouldn't be held accountable for your actions. Show cause, please. And they can't. It freaks them out. These are the sorts of approaches that we need to take. When you've got a situation where the jobs are being moved offshore or something, you need to take that approach. Show cause why you shouldn't be held in abuse of office for doing this. See, all of this, it's humanitarian. Everything that we're facing on this planet, folks, is a humanitarian crisis. You know, the environment, all the damage we're doing to the environment, this is what supports life. This is a humanitarian crisis. All these things are humanitarian issues. The fact that you've got homeless people, the fact that you've got people, rough sleepers out in the street, this is humanitarian. All of this, it's all humanitarian issues, but we whitewash it, we look at it as political issues, as economic issues, social issues. They're humanitarian issues. All of them are humanitarian issues. The problem is that we always put economy at the top of the food chain when really humanity needs to be at the top of the food chain. You know, the banks don't care about humanity, you know. The banks don't care about humanity. A bank will repossess someone's house and throw them out on the street. The house will sit there empty. The bank doesn't even need the house. It just needs to balance the books, because that's what it's about, balancing the books. And that's a really sick thing when you think about it. And that's what we got. And it's going to continue. We can petition these people. We can vote people in and vote people out. Why don't we just stand up and call it for what it is? Stand up and call it for what it is. Be brutally honest. Don't be politically correct. And point the finger where it needs to be pointed. But don't think there's this dark, shadowy hand that you can't deal with. You know, and don't go going down these rabbit holes. All these rabbit holes. I got attacked recently by the flat earth people. I respect the flat earth people. Hey, I can prove to you the earth is flat. I can prove to you it's round. I can prove to you it's a hologram. Give me a day to set up a slideshow. I can offer you a concise proof and offer you something that you will believe, that the earth is flat, the earth is round, the earth's a hologram, that the moon is artificial, the moon is round, the moon's a hologram, the moon's flat. I can prove to you that the world is run by the Jesuits, it's run by the banksters, it's run by the Jews, it's run by the Freemasons, it's run... aliens live under the world. I can prove it all to you. Give me a day, I'll set up a slideshow for you and I'll offer you a convincing argument for any one of the above. Doesn't make any of it true. And you get to a point where you realise that all of these rabbit holes have been put there to just keep us running down rabbit holes and thinking there's this big, dark, shadowy hand and we can't deal with anything. If you want to know if the earth is flat, gain control of the system and go to the South Pole and check it out. Every single mystery that we're given to go and explore exists because we don't have control of the system. That's it. That's the root cause of the whole problem. So let's get control of the system by regaining control of ourselves and stop seeing ourselves as little people who can't do anything, because we're not. And I'm living proof of that. I'll tell you about me. I grew up in a storm drain for a while. I left school before grade 10. I was homeless. I was a musician. I did drugs. I did dope. I was just this hopeless misfit. Didn't fit into society because I couldn't. Just couldn't. I'm just a nobody. I'm a musician. I'm not anybody special. We're all special. Well, there's nobody special. We're all in this together. And when I started doing this, I didn't want my face out there, not because I wanted to be the voice, but because I didn't want anyone to be able to associate a face with the voice, because when you hear a voice, you associate that person with it. I thought if they can just hear my voice, then the only image they can project onto it is themselves. And I'm not anybody special. I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want anyone to think that I'm a guru or anything, because I'm not. I'm an out-of-it musician. That's me. I didn't deal with society because I didn't want to participate. When I was 4, I said, this is all fucked up. I'm going to do something else. I'm walking around in the yard with my teddy bear going, Teddy, it's all fucked up. The world is all fucked up. I've been born onto the wrong planet. This is when I'm 4 years old. We're out in the forest. My mother told me we couldn't live there because we didn't own the land. I'm going, own the land? How can you own the land, Mum? She's going, oh, you'll understand when I get older. I'm going, no, I'm born onto the wrong world. What's going on here? You know, so I couldn't deal with it. I had a terrible childhood because I couldn't deal with it. I was depressed. I was this. I was that. When I was 10 years old, I discovered a Frank Zappa album called We're Only In It For The Money. And I went, hey, he gets it. He gets it. It's not just me. And I became a musician from that point. I lived on the outside of society. When 9/11 happened, I decided that my research was actually worth something, was actually important, and I should start talking about it. So that's what I did, and that's why I'm here now. But I'm nobody special. Nobody. You know, we are all special. We are all beautiful. We can all change things. I had this experience in 2008, which a lot of you have probably heard. How many people here listen to the show? Is there a few people here know my stuff? A lot of you don't. So in 2008, I had this experience, this meditation experience. And is Thomas here? I did have that aha moment, Thomas. I had that. It was an amazing thing. It was like a drug experience, but it was. And I had this moment where I was sitting in meditation, and suddenly I was sitting inside myself, and I was looking out. I could see my outer skin. And between my outer skin and where I was this entire universe. I had this whole fractal thing going on. But what happened was eventually this experience happened, and I just left my body, and I was everywhere all at once. Everywhere. I was looking at myself from all possible angles. I could feel everything in the universe. I could feel everybody. I could feel all the emotion. And I realised that there's only one of us here. It's one single consciousness. The entire universe is a single consciousness expressing itself through frequencies. Maybe it is a mainframe, like Samantha said. I've had experiences which suggest she's probably correct. But, you know, and as far as the Earth being round, the Earth being flat, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me what the stage is. It matters what you do with it, because what this is about is human creativity. But in that moment, when I had that experience, I discovered my own perfection with all of its flaws. And how can you be perfect if you've got flaws? I can be perfect because I'm perfect at being me. No one else can see the world through these eyes, no matter how flawed this vehicle is, no matter how flawed my emotional state is, no matter how inconsequential I feel. I am perfect at experiencing life from the perspective of Max Igan. No one else can do that, ever. I am perfect at being that. And so is every one of you. And it isn't whether you're good or bad or fat or short or good looking or bad looking or this or that. It's about what you do with it, what you do with the information. What is your relationship with people? What is your relationship with the planet? That's what it's about. It's about creative potential. You know, we're here to experience humanity to its greatest potential, and we have the potential to be absolutely incredible. You imagine it if we all could see this perfection in ourselves and respected ourselves that much, because when you see that, you get that perfection, you go, wow. Suddenly, you see it in everybody. It's the same. There's no one better than anybody else. There's no one with any more value than anybody else. We all have value, but we've been taught that we don't. We've been taught to look for leaders and look for gurus, and someone's going to find a way out of this. Someone's going to lead me to safety. Or just follow, please. I'm reading it in the newsletters. Yes, we're winning. but I'm not participating. You've got to participate, folks. You've got to participate. You've got to be yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to speak your truth, and don't think anybody has authority over you. Don't think anybody has any power over you, you know. But don't attack people. You don't go to the politicians and scream and rant and rave and protest and all this stuff. You just ask them, show cause. Show cause where you shouldn't be held in an abusive office for blah, 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 blah. Please, show me. You know? And when you've got the whole community doing it, they go, oh my God, oh my fucking God. You know? And you'll get that if you discover that perfection in yourself, because then the barriers break down with people. See, this whole divide and rule, it's us who perpetuates it, folks. It's us who perpetuate it. A lot of it is because of the business model, because of the economic model. We're always competing with each other. We look at this fear going on, like drip, drip, drip in the back of your mind, always there, no matter how connected you are. Got to pay the bills. Oh God, do I look like this? Oh, am I fat enough? Am I thin enough? Am I that? Does she like me? You know, all this stuff going on. It's in people's minds all the time. You know, little inadequacies, which are parameters that are given to us by other people. And it happens so much. It really does. But we've got some golden opportunities, folks. We really do. And they're providing them for us. What Thomas was saying before about embracing the shadow. You know, we've got to embrace the shadow. We've got to turn and face this, folks. We really do. We've got to turn and face this head on. We don't need to back down. We don't need to be politically correct. We've got to rally the people in a manner that they understand. You know, I even say to people, look, you know, if you're baking a cake, bake one for your neighbours if you don't know them. Take something next door to get to know these people. It's really hard, isn't it? You know, we live in cities, and the closer they pack us in, the less people we know around us. We're too scared to go and knock on the house next door and get to know people. You know, they're all too programmed to want to know us. That's the society that we're in. So what we've got to do is find a way of breaking down these barriers and find a way of linking things up. And all of the different movements, you know, the chemtrails people and the fracking people and the this people and the that people, we ought to bring all this together, because these are all the same issue. These are all symptoms of the same problem. You know, like I said, be it Fukushima, be it homelessness, be it starvation, doesn't matter what it is, it's all part of the same problem. You know, we're just not dealing with it from the correct perspective. We're hacking at the branches, but we're not striking at the root. We've got to strike at the root, but that's got to come from us. It's all got to come from us. You know, we've got to change our perspective of what we are, folks, change the perspective of what the nation is. And then we can get to a point where we don't need nations, you know, because all of this is fiction anyway. But there is enough stuff in the fiction that we can use to get ourselves out of this. We really can. But it's people, you know, these extremists, these guys are extremists, people who it's all or nothing. You know, it's all or nothing. We've got to be totally free now or you're a shill. You know, if you even think about using the tax system to find a way out of the tax system, or you're a shill. You know, if anything that you want to do, if it's part of the system, oh, you're a shill. You know, you get this all the time, and it's this whole divide and rule mentality, and it doesn't get us anywhere. We've got to start using their language, folks. You know, use the language of the people on the street, speaking in words they can understand. Even with the whole lose the name stuff, you know, like, this works to a degree now in this society if you get the right police officers when you do it. My sister's on this road. This is what she's doing. She's taken her number plates off her car. She's got her live birth certificate. She's doing all that stuff. She was just arrested a couple of days ago while I'm away. And she's out of jail, and she's going to get the fine and send it to the Attorney General so he can pay for it. I mean, I don't know. This is all this complicated stuff, but this isn't free, folks. There's a guy who's not claimed his name. He's been in jail for a month because he won't claim his name. Now they've moved him to a psychiatric ward because no one wants the paperwork. They don't know how to deal with this guy because he won't claim his name. And he's there going, yeah, I'm winning. Man, you've been in jail for a month and now you're in a psych ward. You're not winning. You know, you might end up out of this, but you've wasted 6 or 8 weeks of your life, and at the end of it, you didn't really win because you didn't affect any change within the system. You're not free if you lose the name. You're free when they stop asking you for it. And that's only going to happen when you educate the people around you. And if you go and tell them to lose the name, that's how you're going to freak them out. They're going to shut down and walk away. You've got to speak to them in a language that they understand. You can't present this alien reality to people because that's what it is. It's an alien reality. A lot of the free man stuff, it's been useful in exposing the fiction. But there's no remedy there. The remedy is here. The remedy is in our hearts when we choose to stand up and express our creative potential as one people. That's how we do it, folks. And there's been enough information here on this weekend. Like, really, I cannot speak highly enough about this weekend. There's been enough information here that should get every single person in this room motivated. You guys should all be exchanging addresses, all this sort of stuff. You've got to create these networks, folks. And that's what I want to do later on, which I'll touch on a little bit near the end of the talk. But it's something I want to organise that I've been trying to organise for a couple of years now. But that's the key. That's the key. Organising us and us getting involved. You can't walk away from this system. Build your ultimate community, yeah, but build it on the outside of this community and infiltrate this community. And approach the politicians like Pippa's doing. Where's Pippa? This woman is the embodiment of the divine feminine, I tell you. I mean... This woman is like a terrier just nipping at their heels. They're going, fuck this dog, you know? Just keeps biting me, you know? But don't stop. Just hit them from all angles. And don't think, oh, because she's working within the political system, this is all, she's a shell. Oh my God, you know? This is what it's all like, all this stuff. It's like even with common purpose, which is such a bad organisation. But what we need is a common purpose. But I can't use that phrase because now it's co-opted. You know, we can't even, it's getting that way. If I even say that, we need to get together with a common purpose. Oh no, he's part of the common purpose movement, which I'm not. But you see, it's getting to the stage, folks, they're co-opting every single phrase, every good thing, sustainability, which we need. Oh no, I can't say that, Agenda 21. You know, very soon, the way we're going in this conspiracy culture, we're going to have to communicate this rebellion in sign language. You know, we're not going to be able to use any words because all the words have been controlled and taken. Let's just get out of that, you know, and let's just speak to each other and respect each other. Let's bring all of these movements together. Bring it all together, you know. We've got to stop competing with each other and thinking that my way or the highway. Everybody's got part of the puzzle. Everyone's trying to address a different symptom, but they've got to realise that they're symptoms. They're all symptoms. The one problem is the corruption, the legislation that allows these symptoms to be created, and the higher problem than that is our disconnection from ourselves and our disconnection from each other. And I believe if you can discover your own perfection, you find that disconnection breaks down. You know, because you are simply a frequency of consciousness experiencing one little band of reality. You know, I think it's all holographic anyway, you know. But imagine our potential if we had that respect for each other. You know, you get an idea, gee, I want to build this, I want to create this. And someone looks at it and goes, man, that's great, I can add this to it. And then someone else adds this to it and adds this to it. Imagine what we could do. Imagine what we could create. You know, we can create matter by observing it. You look at the double slit experiment, you look at the measurement problem. Anyone here not know about the measurement problem? The measurement problem, when a scientist goes to measure an atom, he can't measure it because the electrons that revolve around the nucleus are infinite. They exist everywhere at once. And it isn't until he goes to measure the atom that it actually coalesces to form the atom. So the scientist creates the atom by observing it. So we create reality by observing it, by our perception and our concept of what it is and our belief of what it is. But we're controlled by our left brain, we're controlled by our education system, we're controlled by the parameters of science, which fit all in this little box. Nothing outside that box works. It's got to be confirmed by science, doesn't it? So it gets us out of our right brain, and it controls what we believe is possible. And when you've got a language like English, you don't even understand reality through English. It's very hard to convey spiritual and higher understandings through English. English is the language of commerce. People say, oh, English runs parallel to legalese. No, English is legalese. It is legalese. You know, it's the language of commerce. It's designed to disconnect you from reality. It's very difficult to explain spiritual understandings. I always use the word dharma to explain this. I've used this so often in so many talks. The word dharma. You know, dharma is doing the right thing at the right time in the right way for the right reason. You do that and you find that all the mesh works. All the wheels mesh. Your life works. It's your path. This is your path of dharma. You do the right thing, the right way, the right time, right reason. What is right? Well, does it adhere to the one law of creation, which is service to creation? Not service to others at the expense of yourself, not service to yourself at the expense of others. You're all part of creation. We're all in this together. It's service to creation. I could write a whole chapter, a whole book on the concept of Dharma. If I'm speaking Hindi, I've just got to say Dharma. And they understand what it means in all of its aspects. We don't have words like that in English. It's very difficult to explain concepts of true freedom to people in English. You know, all of these concepts have been removed. You ever read 1984, they took all the words out for rebellion and all that sort of stuff. So the people knew there was something terribly wrong, and they knew they wanted to do something, but they didn't know what it was or what was really wrong because they didn't have words in their language to understand it or explain it or convey it to each other. That's what they've done to us through English. They're doing it even more through texting and through all this internet language that we're getting now. Yeah? How do you convey spiritual understandings when you're using one letter for a word? You know, it takes it all from us. So we're really limited in our potential because of what we believe we are capable of. But if we can create matter by observing it, and we can create this whole mess, which is a product of our imagination, the whole thing is a product of our imagination. Even this is a product of our imagination. We had to imagine it. Someone had to think, I want a podium, I want a pulpit, I'm going to cut down this tree. And they drew it and they put their imagination into action and they created the pulpit. You know, we think, oh, yeah, this new age thing we can create by imagining it and meditate. Well, actually, you've got to actually put that into action. You're in a 3D world here. Could be a reason. You're supposed to participate. Bing! You know, you're actually supposed to participate, folks. You get all these understandings, you actually got to put it into practice. I want to dig a garden. You sit there and go, I'm going to meditate, and this garden's going to there. I'm going to be eating that pretty soon. It's not going to work. You've got to participate, folks. So, you know, we've had all this taken from us because we're limited in our potential, because we're limited in our understanding of reality, because we're limited in our language and its explanations of reality. But we've got another brain. We've got the right brain, and that's completely different. And that right brain can connect us to all of that. But of course, we're disconnected from that because we're trained to think in language. We're fed fluoride, we're fed neurotoxins, all these things which shut down our corpus callosum, stop the left and right talking to each other, and we're trained not to think about things artistically, just to think about them analytically, because it's all about economics, because that's what success is. Success is about balancing the books. You know, so we've got this whole fictional reality, and when you wake up to it, you go, well, hey, you know, it's so obvious. I can see it so well, and it's so obvious. We've got very, very many opportunities, folks, we really do. Get up out of this, break up out of this one. Because that's the world we're creating by our inaction. We really are. And it's going to be a world that, you know, we're not going to be able to live in very well at all. There's so many ways I can take all this. We don't want that world. We don't want that world at all. And again, folks, like I said, a lot of these slides are incidental now because of the talks that I heard earlier. But if you think these people aren't psychopaths, they're not doing all this purposely, and they're not really working to depopulate the planet and squash the human spirit, just look around at what's going on around the world. Look at what we've done to the Middle East. And this is another thing with the lose the name and all of this sort of stuff, and all of the free man movement, and all of these ways of finding loopholes through the political system that we can, you know, use, blah, blah, blah. Folks, these people that are running this planet, they blew up all those people on 7/7. They killed 3,000 people on 9/11. And then they went out and they bombed all these Middle Eastern countries. They killed about 4 million people now, knowing all the time that these people are completely innocent of any crime. Do you really think these people give a shit if you lose the name? Do you really think that's going to make a difference? Now, it may work now for a little while because those at the high levels need to stay hidden. If all those people who decided, I'm going to lose the name and step out of the system, now with that information turned and confronted the system head on, they could actually make a difference. They could. There's enough of them out there. And they could make enough noise and create enough stir in the media and spread it to enough people in the public that the whole world got up and realised and did it. But it's too alien for a lot of people, and they're not going to do that because they're in this state of spiritual narcissism where I'm free now. I'm free. They don't know. That's their problem. It's all out there. They can get the information if they want, but they're not going to do it, so they get what they deserve. That's sociopathic thinking, that's narcissistic thinking, and that's not why you decided you wanted to be free in the beginning, is it? You know, that's not what it's about. And all of these free men and all these things, it's all of this narcissistic approach they have, which is designed that way to keep them locked down this rabbit hole in the mistaken belief that they're free when they're walking around in an open-air prison, that prevents any of this happening. I mean, it's been useful in exposing the fiction. That's great. We know it's fiction. We know how the birth certificate works. We know what it's all about. But we've got to find practical ways of applying it to the world and practical ways of applying it to our society. And we've got to get it to people in a language they understand. Like I said, if you think this isn't being done deliberately, folks, these cluster bombs that they use everywhere. This is great thinking, isn't it? Cluster bombs. There's an unexploded cluster bomb. That's what they look like on the ground. So what happens, we send all these into these Middle Eastern countries, they run around the ground unexploded. Oh, terrible, all the people are getting hurt. We need to send in aid packages and help them. You know, what do we send in? These aid packages. There's an aid package next to a cluster bomb. You reckon that isn't deliberate? Do they paint them the same colour? Why would you send yellow cluster bombs into a country, then drop yellow aid packages there? Oh, we've dropped food for you. Go out and find the yellow packages. And there's the results. You know, and this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what our governments are doing. What, are we going to protest this? Are you kidding me? You're a fucking criminal. Look what you just did to this kid. You're a criminal. You're a psychopath. Only a psychopath goes and bombs another country. You go carpet bomb a country and say you're doing it for self-defence. Are you kidding me? And we just deal with this. We'll protest. We'll have a war protest. Oh, the terrible politicians will turn the channel. No, these guys are doing this with your money. And it's you know, it's a joke. Monsanto. We're going to protest this stuff? I mean, show cause. Here's all the information. Here's all the studies on the rats showing that they cannot produce after 3 generations of eating this food. All the stuff that you're doing. Here's the proof. Show cause. Well, you shouldn't be held accountable for your actions. Oh, we can't be because we wrote on this little piece of paper here that we're all safe. It's there, look, it's got a fancy letterhead on it. It's a law, see? I've got this psychopath in a suit here to sign off on it. It's a law, see? You write it on paper and it becomes reality. We live in a paper-based reality, folks. A paper-based reality. And we're getting away with it because, oh, we can't do anything. It's law. It says on the piece of paper. It says on the piece of paper that I can't do anything. I've got to let this happen because there's nothing I can do about it. It's all abuse of office. It's all, these guys are mass murdering psychopaths destroying our planet. And we're arguing about it. We're debating finer points. We're arguing over semantics and details. Now, let's call a spade, folks. I'm sick of this shit, you know. Sorry about the swearing. I don't swear on air, so I get to do it at these gigs, you know. But I'm sick of this. I'm angry. After hearing some of the stuff today, I'm angry, folks. I'm angry, you know. And that's why I do the shows, because I'm angry. I've been angry since 2008. I get on the shows and I speak calmly, I speak eloquently. I try to empower people with information. I want them to feel that there's a way out, because there is. But they have to get motivated, so I try to inspire them. And that's what this movement has to do. You know, the alternate media needs to provide a safety net for people who are waking up to the reality of the situation, and you need to be providing pathways to solutions. I don't know what all the solutions are. I'd like to. I've been trying, but I can't do it without your help. You know, we all need to link up our minds together and do this together, because everybody's got a piece of the puzzle. Everybody has value. Everybody has something valid to offer. We really do. We can't shout each other down. We can't have our movements. We need to link everything together, folks. We really do, because otherwise this is what we're going to get, stuff like this. And that's true. That is true. Either mankind will stop Monsanto, or Monsanto will stop mankind. And this guy, what can I say? What can I say? This guy, what is he passing these laws to say that what? We're as dangerous as ISIS. These online extremists. That to me sounds like a pretty extremist ideology. I think David Cameron's an extremist. Which is good that he's just put in legislation giving us the ability to arrest extremists, I believe. Bye, David. You're in abusive office. You know, all these people. I mean, what do you say? What do you say? And this guy, we got a good one. We got a good one. Tony Abbott. What a great guy. You're going to knight the prince or something? How do you knight a prince? The prince knight's you, Tony. You're going to demote a prince to a knight? What is this, you know? Tony Abbott's amazing. Tony Abbott's a politician. You don't know what he's going to do next. You just don't know what this guy's going to do. He's amazing. He's the best thing that ever happened to Australia. He's woken up more people than I could. The whole of Australia realises what they've got now. What do they got? They got that, and they ended up with that. That's what they got. And look at this one. This is good, eh? We're going to start taking citizen savings. This is what we get. This is what our politicians are doing. So they're setting the whole thing up for a financial meltdown, you know, which may or may not happen, but they've got to make people think it does. But they can switch the value of paper on and off anytime they want. And I would suggest that you don't keep money in the bank, folks. Draw it out, buy silver, something like that, you know, and buy the physical silver so you've got it in your hand. But don't keep it in the bank because they can switch that off any time. And it's really, you know, it doesn't have value anyway, it's just paper. You know, we need to build communities, folks, is what we need to build. But this is where you're going with all of this stuff. And this guy, Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper, see, Canada's got him, we've all got him. Stephen Harper's just passing legislation saying that anybody who speaks out against Israel can be convicted of hate crimes. You like that? I would say Stephen Harper is committing a hate crime by supporting the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people, wouldn't you? Yeah. I think Stephen Harper's just passed enough legislation for us to arrest Stephen Harper under his own criminal legislation, you know. And Benjamin Netanyahu, what a great character that is, eh? What a great character. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, folks. That tells me more about Bibi Netanyahu than I ever wanted to know. And what Bibi's doing, you know, in Gaza is incredible, absolutely incredible. I went into Gaza in 2012 with my brother Ken. That was an experience, probably one of the more stupid things we've both done in our lives, but looking back on it, it was great. I would do it again in a second. I've actually been trying to get back in there ever since. But again, I've used this so much since I've been, it really affected me going there and seeing these people, these beautiful people with so much light in their eyes. And Gaza Strip itself is one of the greatest opportunities for human freedom that we've ever had. Because that's what all of this is, folks. Everything that you've heard today and everything you've heard over this weekend has provided everybody here with some of the best opportunities you've ever had in your life. Because never before in history has the system been laid so bare. We've got the internet, we've got communication right around the planet. Never before in history has everything been laid so bare, and have we had the ability to unite this planet in one global shift in consciousness. This is it. This is the most important time ever. And the people in Gaza have been fighting this fight for over 70 years now, and they're providing us an opportunity because Gaza Strip is a war crime. We can use their paper. Okay, you want your paper-based law to be real? Fine. Here's the 4th Geneva Convention. It says collective punishment is a war crime. It says building settlements in occupied territory is a war crime. What is going on in Palestine is a war crime. It's not a debatable point. We don't even have to go into all the finer points of dropping phosphorus on the people and cutting their water off and all of the stuff they're doing, bombing schools, bombing ambulances, bombing children, so much stuff. Forget all that. The fact that Gaza Strip exists in a collective punishment situation is a war crime. Therefore, any government that is funding or supporting the actions of Israel is a government that is committing war crimes. If you've got a united community that stands up and says, show cause, why you should not be held accountable for what it says in this document. You guys support your paper reality? Here's the 4th Geneva Convention. You're all guilty of war crimes. So we're going to take the necessary steps to express a loss of confidence in your government's ability to govern and have you dismissed. Because this is a humanitarian issue. Forget about whether it's Israelis and Palestinians and Muslims and Jews. It's people locked in a prison, most of whom are children, who have been killed and tortured by other people. Forget about whether it's Israel or Palestine or Muslims or Jews. It's people. That's the problem. You know, we need to deal with that. Look at it from a humanitarian perspective, not ethnic, not economic, not religious. If someone's trapped down a well, you rescue them from the well. You don't do a debate on the semantics of the rope company and who manufactured the bricks and who did this. We'll figure all this out and then we'll rescue him from the well. You don't do that. You rescue the guy from the well and then you figure out how he got down there. It's the same with the people in Palestine and Gaza. These people need our help right now, and they're providing us an opportunity to rein our own governments in. We can use this to deal with every single government in the Western world because it's an open war crime. But we're too busy arguing whether we support the Jews or the Palestinians or this or that, or the history of this. It's people, children, being killed right now, being murdered, drinking polluted water every day. You know, living in conditions you wouldn't believe. And that was when I was there in 2012. They bombed it 3 weeks after we left, or a month after we left, and since then, what they did in that last 51-day incursion, the situation in Gaza now is 10 times, 20 times worse than what it was when I was there. You know, there was a prediction made 5 years ago that in 15 years you won't be able to live in Gaza Strip, it'll be too polluted. You can probably drop that down to about 5 now if we don't do something, and they're providing us an opportunity to rein our own governments in. But we're not taking it. We're just debating the finer points from all of this. You know, it's a war crime, folks. It's not a debatable point. And it's an opportunity for us to heal the whole world with this. Because if we don't, the whole world is going that way. Just look in your own country. Look what they're doing when they finally get all this fracking in. And like Ian said, it's probably not even about that. It's probably about the methane. That wouldn't surprise me at all, because there's a massive depopulation agenda going on this planet, folks. And we need to call it for what it is. There's a war going on. There's a war going on. Our police are being militarised. Our politicians, our servants, are turning the police into an army that they can use against the people. Why? Because they are scared. They are scared to death at how much we are waking up. And don't think this situation is lost, folks, because it isn't. They are so far behind with their plans. Who's read The Grand Chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski? They predicted what's going on in Syria to be finished by about 2003. Here it is 2015, and they're having a hard time getting anywhere with what they wanted to do in Syria, all this sort of stuff. They are so far behind their plans, folks, which is why they're ramping things up so much now, and they're stumbling. They're stumbling and they're waking up people in droves. What we have to do is provide these people with a safety net by using language they understand and helping them see that there is a solution to this problem. Every problem is an opportunity, and this is a huge opportunity for us to address this corruption, because the corruption is obvious now. It's not a theory anymore. Yeah, there's a conspiracy. There's people behind closed doors doing very bad things, and everybody's suffering because of it. Now, anybody who's in a state of hardship in this country, there's no reason anybody should be in a state of hardship. This is a country of great wealth. England owns most of the world, for God's sake. You guys should be doing really well. You know, there's no reason for anybody to be in a state of hardship. You know, it's all abuse of office. You know, it's all the government being out of control. But we've got opportunities all over the world to heal it, folks, and Gaza is one of them. And why does it exist? Well, that's why, of course, every Palestinian that's born is a terrorist. Just ask Bibi. Yeah, free Palestine. So, folks, that's the path we're on. That's the legal system that we've got, but there are elements within it. But we've got to have a strong communal response. So what you've got to do is find ways of breaking down the barriers in your community. Now, what I tried to do a couple of years ago, I went to Peru, and I had an amazing shamanistic experience in Peru where the Amazon jungle basically downloaded its entire emotional journey into me. It was remarkable. Now, I can't really convey it to you because it was an emotional language. It was not anything I can use words to explain. And I had this idea that I had to save the Amazon. So I wanted to make a film to help save the Amazon, and I wanted to start a project called the Full Circle Project. I had all sorts of delays and all sorts of things going on. I'm looking at it going, well, how do I do it? I want to buy land in the Amazon. I wanted to create this huge section of land and buy it, endangered Amazon rainforest, to save it, so I could show, okay, if we all pitch in, we can buy this. Look what we did. We got together and we saved something important. I thought the Amazon will work. It will motivate people. Everyone wants to save the Amazon. I'm just trying to find a way of finding something that will empower people. I had this idea. Then I thought, well, I started seeing things like the Kamasi Gas Project. You know, I'm thinking I can raise like $1 million so I can buy this section of Amazon, you know. And then I see the Kamasi Gas Project comes along and spends $73 million advertising the fact that they're going to destroy this region. I'm going, geez, you know, I don't think my $1 million is going to go very far buying this jungle. You know, they've spent $73 million advertising the fact they're going to destroy it. So I thought, what can I do with a Full Circle Project? You know, you're not going to save the Amazon by buying it. You've got to realise the companies that are destroying the Amazon are Western companies. So what we've got to do is clean up our own backyard. So Full Circle Project became something else. And see, I don't want to create a movement, a zeitgeist movement, all of this movement, all of that movement. What I'll create is I want to create grass fires. And so what we're trying to do with Full Circle Project, which has been trying to work all this out, their website's been hacked. We've had so much trouble with all sorts of stuff. I mean, even with the Crow House, I had to close down the Crow House forums because they just get hacked so much. So, you know, what I want to do with Full Circle Project is create a mechanism which is going to create grass fires. We've got this thing which is going to link up communities everywhere, have groups of people that can all get together and coordinate in an uncoordinated fashion. Like Ian says, you can't have a leader, you can't have a coordinated movement, but if you've got a way of linking everybody up so that everybody knows what's going on, okay, we've got this abusive office thing going, okay, we're all going to do this. The whole world does it because they're all linked up. And people in their communities, like so many people I get letters from, they go, Max, I'm lonely, I'm awake, I live in this town. Do you know anybody I can talk to? This will do that. You can find people close to you. This is why all you people need to get contacts with each other. You've got to create these communities and get this contact going. So what I'm trying to do with Full Circle Project is create this idea where you can find and link up with everybody around the world and you can exchange ideas and everybody can get a platform to put their idea on the table and we can find a way out of this mess. So that's what I'm trying to do with Full Circle Project. I'm going to Spain when I leave England to discuss a lot of this with Zed Gardner and my darling friend Louise, who's up there somewhere, who is just this amazing woman from Spain who's been so supportive. Like I said, folks, the slideshows are incidental. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go. That's where we're heading. Well, we've got to do it this way, folks, the warrior spirit. Zen is right. We've got to re-embrace the warrior spirit. And it's been an incredible effort over centuries to squash the divine feminine, and it's been pretty full on what's been done to women. And there's been a huge resurgence with the New Age movement to bring back the divine feminine, but in the process, we've managed to turn a lot of men into these really fluffy, happy little guys who are really in touch with their divine feminine. And we need them to get back in touch with the divine masculine. We need a bit of balance here, folks. We need the divine masculine to come back out. We need the warrior spirit. The warrior doesn't attack. The warrior doesn't kill. The warrior has integrity and stands for integrity and stands for what is right and stands for what is good and calls a spade and doesn't take a backward step. Do the right thing in all that you do. Not what's right for you, but what is right. And you know what is right. Don't tell me you don't. You do. Everybody does. Warriors confront the evil most people refuse to acknowledge. You've got to face the shadow, folks. All the information that you've got on this weekend, use it. Use it. Speak eloquently to people and ask these politicians to show cause why they shouldn't be held accountable for their actions, but use the right language and do it in ways that people can understand. There's so many people have told us this, you know. The hope for humankind is the transformation of the individual. Everybody has to change their perspective. There are no saviours. No one's going to get you out of this. You have to change your perspective and change how you interact with the people around you. That's what will change the world. I've been beating this drum for 8 years on air. And truly, folks, it's worked. It works for me. Everything in my life is so synchronistic. It really is. And some of the greatest tragedies in your life are the greatest gifts. They really are. Like I've had a horrendous life. I really have. I was abused when I was a child. I lived in a storm drain when I was 12. I was homeless. I was this. I was that. I've had broken relationships. I got to a point where I became a musician because I just didn't have any other way out. That's all I had to do. That was all I had. And then I got to a point in my life where my music collection was stolen from me. 38-year music collection of a musician. And music was who I was. If I ever had a bad moment, I went to my music, and that got stolen from me. And suddenly my source of solace became my source of pain, and I had nowhere to go. That was an interesting time in my life. That was the greatest depths that I ever fell to. And then I realised that there was another path, that my research was actually important, because that's all I had. So I went back to that. And that is what propelled me to what I'm doing now. The greatest tragedy of my life is the greatest gift that I ever had, that was ever given to me. There's opportunity in all of it, folks. There's opportunity in all of it. It's how you use it. It's what you do with the information. Yesterday I was clever. I wanted to change the world, so today I'm changing myself. You know, that's the key, folks. And that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So you can't be selfish and ignorant. You can't be judgmental to people. You've got to respect them. And the only way you're going to really respect them is by respecting yourself. And that's why you have to do it. You can't be apathetic about it. You can't take this information home and not use it. You've got to use it, folks, because if you don't, you're missing the ride. You're missing the ride. This is the greatest opportunity in human history. All we have to do is stand up and participate. That's all we have to do, folks. Align your focus with the solution, not the problem. The key to saving yourself from this heartless transhumanist world is right in your face. It's right in your face, folks. That's what I wanted to say. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. And we can make it into something incredible. We really can. That just seems to get in there all the time. But that's it, folks. You can be the change. You are the change. That's what you're here for. That's what this time in history is, and that's why you all chose to participate. So please participate. My name's Max Igan. Thanks for coming to the talk.
Max, on Humanity versus Insanity, you played me out of the show with this guy is as handy with the classical as he is with the electric. So come on, I've even got a chair for you, mate.
You won't hear it.
Yeah, we will, because we've got a mic. Oh, shoot.
He always does this to me. Like, this is a trap, folks.
I understand.
Oh, dear.
Oh, shoot. That'll clear the room in a heartbeat.
See, look, you already cleared the room, mate. He's making me do this. I didn't plan on this. I'm really out of practice.
Hey, gentlemen.
He made me do that.
Max Igan.
I haven't played for years, really, so that was a dirty trick.
Thank you.
I haven't played for a very, very long time.
I will probably have to pay for that at some point. But it will be worth it. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm already planning the revenge, mate.
Yeah. Well, there is only one person who could ever really follow Max Igan, and of course that's his good buddy, Ken O'Keefe. So we're going to break for dinner now, and be back here for 8 o'clock, and then we'll be introducing you to Ken O'Keefe. So see you then.